Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Bando moi savadhana mate. Bando moi savadhana mate. Jahara prasade bhai he bhavatori ajay. Krishna prapti ho jaha hate. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hate. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. Arna Koriyo Mane Asha. Arana Koriyo Mane Asha. Shri Guru Charane Rate Aise Uttama Gati. Shri Guru Charane Rate Aise Uttama Gati. Je prasade pure sarva asha. Je prasade pure sarva asha. चकुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से। चखुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाश जाते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाश जाते वेरेगा जहर चरित वेरेगा जहर चरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना प्रभुपाद लोकेरा जीवाना हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद छाया हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद छाया हे बेजास कुशु त्रिभुवाना श्रीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावना जया प्रभुपादा 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 जया प्रभुपादा जया जया प्रभुपाद 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 जया जया प्रभुपाद नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने वेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदिशतारिणे Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai ISKCON Vibhiti Faungaracharya His Divine Grace Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिर गोवर्धन की जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय गंगा माय यमुना माय की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय ताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatayani. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart to transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sings of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor, Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, please be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. You are the savior of the most fallen. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
केशवास्य च विष्णुभक्ति परेरेवे सतपते नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति परेरेवे सतपते नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति परे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय। नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो हे अभिलाषी तुम्हारा शरणाल तारा वंचा पूर्णा हो कृपा करो तारे वृंदावनवासी मोरे अविलास विलास कुंज दियो बास मायने सारा जुगल रूपरासी निवेदन दारो सखी अनुगत करो सेवारी कर दिए कर दीना कृष्ण दासी को ये जीना मोरा हो श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमी सराये नवासी श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमी सराये नवासी यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्तरिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ते परीक्षणा परे परे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्तरिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ते परीक्षणा परे परे यानि कानि च ब्रह्महत्तरिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ते परीक्षणा परे परे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani. तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय। वृंदाय तुलसी देवी आए प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति परे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवी आए प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति परे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवी आए प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति परे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। तुलसी देवी महारानी की जय। O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desires to obtain the service of Sri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Bestowing your mercy on him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a resident in the pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me the follower of Kawal damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise, may I always swim in the love of Sri Radha and Govinda. Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai.
This is a song composed by Narottam Das Thakur. He prays to Lord Chaitanya, "My dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds?" Actually, this is a fact. Not only Narottam Das Thakur but Srila Rupa Goswami also prayed to Lord Chaitanya in this way. At the time of the first meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Rupa Goswami at Prayag, Allahabad, Srila Rupa Goswami said, quote, "My dear Lord, you're the most munificent of all incarnations because you're distributing love of Krishna, Krishna consciousness," unquote. When Krishna was personally present, he simply asked us to surrender, but he did not distribute himself so easily. He made conditions. First of all, you surrender. But his incarnation, Lord Chaitanya, although Krishna himself, makes no such condition. He simply distributes, take love of Krishna. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is approved as the most munificent incarnation. Narottam Das Thakur says, please be merciful to me. You are so magnanimous because you have seen the fallen souls of this age, and you are very much compassionate to them. But you should know also that I am the most fallen. No one is more greatly fallen than me. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara. Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore my claim is forced. Then he prays to Lord Nityananda. He says, Haha Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. Then he prays to Advaita Prabhu. Doya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai. Advaita Prabhu's wife's name was Sita. Therefore he is sometimes addressed as Sitapati. Thus Narottam Das Thakur prays, my dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind, please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. Actually, Advaita Prabhu invited Lord Chaitanya to come down. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that the fallen souls were all engaged simply in sense gratificatory processes, not understanding Krishna consciousness, he felt very much compassionate toward the fallen souls, and he also felt himself incapable of claiming them all. He therefore prayed to Lord Krishna, please come yourself. Without your personal presence, it is not possible to deliver these fallen souls. Thus, by his invitation, Lord Chaitanya appeared. Naturally, Narottam Das Thakur prays to Advaita Prabhu, if you will be kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda also will be kind to me. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More
Toma bina ke doyalo Jagat samsare
Toma bina ke doyalo Jagat samsare
Toma bina ke doyalo Jagat samsare
Toma vina ke doyalo Jagat samsare
Patita pavana hetu Tava avatara
Patita pavana hetu Tava avatara
पतिता पावन हेतु तव अवतार
पतिता पावन हेतु तव अवतार
मो समपतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आरा
मो समपतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आरा
हा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
हा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
हा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
कृपा बालकाना करो आमी बड़ दुखी
कृपा बालकाना करो आमी बड़ दुखी
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे
दया करो सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई
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 तव कृपा बले चैतन्य निता
तव कृपा बले चैतन्य निताय
आहा स्वरूप सनातन रूप रघुनाथ
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 बता जुगा श्रीजीव प्रभु लोकनाथ
भाता जुग श्री जीवा प्रभु लोकनाथ
दया करो श्री आचार्य Prabhu Srinivasa.
Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa.
Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa.
Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa.
Ramachandra Sangha Mage Narottama Dasa.
Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa.
Ramachandra Sangha Mage Narottama Dasa.
Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo
More. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More.
Toma Vina Kedoyalo Jagat Samsare.
Toma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsari.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More.
Toma Bina Kedoyalo Jagata Samsare.
Toma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsari.
Toma Bina Kedoyalo Jagata Samsare.
Toma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsari.
Jaya Paramakkaruna Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Paramakkaruna Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai.
Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Energy. It cannot enter into that region. Without discrimination, both the Devatas and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. So there is no time there. Time doesn't have an influence. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada actually describes how time facilitates karma. Because then we have to have past, present, and future. Right? So if there is no karma there, because every activity is simply for Krishna's pleasure, there's no karma, so therefore there's no need for time. So time doesn't exist. The inhabitants of Vaikunta are described as having glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers, their dress is of yellowish color, and their bodily features are very attractive. They're just the age of growing youths. They all have 4 hands. They're all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces with ornamental medallions, and they all appear to be very effulgent. Some of them, and this is interesting, some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion, and have garlands on their heads blooming like lotus flowers, and some wear earrings. The Vaikunta planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and beautifully situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions, and all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with clouds and lightning. The goddess of fortune, in her transcendental form, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Lord Brahma saw in Vaikunta the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, Arhana, and his immediate associates. And this is a description of the Lord. The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably toward his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands, and his chest was marked with 3 lines of the goddess of fortune. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, and 6 natural opulences. Don't worry, there is a description in the purport in case you're confused. Along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his full abode. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart, and thus in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love, he bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of the highest perfection for the living being, Paramahamsa. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnana-Timirandhasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshur-Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम राम हरे हरे. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Shrunvatam Shraddhaya Nityam Grihnatam Cha Swacheshtitam Kalena Na Ati Dirghena Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi Pravishta Karnarandrena Swanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yathasharat. This very famous verse from the 2nd canto Srimad Bhagavatam is very hope-giving, especially when we think that I am drowning in Rajogun and Tamogun, and I have so many different flaws and so many different faults, and I have always offended. I've always broken the principles. I have been not very strict in my practice. Whenever the mind starts getting into that kind of mode, this verse really helps. What does the verse mean? Shrinvatam, by hearing about Krishna, Shraddhaya, with faith, Nityam, every day. Actually, Nityam means Satatam, at all times. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Nityam can also be translated as once a day. So Shrinvatam, by hearing about Krishna, Shraddhaya, with faith. Now faith means faith that the pastime took place, faith that the speaker is authentic, faith that the speaker is speaking without ulterior motives, faith that this pastime when heard will purify my consciousness. So all of this is Shraddha. Shrinvatam Shraddhaya Nityam, to constantly hear about Krishna, or at least hear once a day. And Grihnatam cha Swacheshtitam, and also to accept that in our real life. Sometimes we see that the distance that we have in our hearing and our practice is so much. We are probably sometimes like PhD in our head and kindergarten in the heart. Speaking about myself. Sometimes we see that we hear, we read, we hear so many pastimes and we read so many things, but real life, when Krishna tests, the kindergarten nature comes out. That information of all that we have heard and read doesn't come to help at that time, at least for me. Why? Because there is a lack in application of those principles. So therefore, Bhagavatam says, Tak Shrunvan Supatan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchen Naraha. That the 3 steps to make advancement are to hear Tak Shrunvan, to hear from pure Vaishnavas, and Supatan, to write all those things very nicely. Whenever we hear Hari Katha, we are expected to nicely write. Supatan means to write and to repeat. Basically, Patanam means to read, to memorize. Smaranam, even Lekhanam, everything is included in Patanam, which means to write, to read what we have written, to memorize that, to recap, and to ask questions. All of this is Supatanam. And then the 3rd step is Vicharanam, which means one must sit and contemplate, how am I going to apply these principles in my life? Where am I going wrong? And how can I apply these principles in my life? Because if this contemplation, if this introspection is not there, then we have heard on the entertainment platform, but the enlightenment, the enrichment is lacking. If this is done, then bhaktya vimuchen naraha. Bhakti rises in the heart and the living entity becomes completely vimuchen, vishesha rupena mukti, which means one doesn't just get liberated from material existence, one gets pure love for Krishna. So the point is, by hearing Harikatha, Takshrunvan, and Supathan, by nicely taking notes and studying and memorizing and going through what has been taught, and Vicharanam, by contemplating that and to make attempts or efforts to apply that in real life, bhakti will rise. So back to the verse from the 2nd canto, Shunvatam Shraddhaya Nityam Grihnatam cha Swacheshtitam. We have to do 4 things. We have to hear, Shunvatam, it must be with faith, it must be regular, which means it must be daily, and there must be an effort to apply that, Swacheshtitam, in one's own activities. If these 4 things are done continuously, then kalena, with time, but na ati dirghena, not too much in the future, which means very quickly. Kalena na ati dirghena means not too much into the future, but very quickly. What happens? Bhagavan vishate hridi. Krishna enters the heart of the living entity. Someone will say, well, Krishna's there in everyone's heart. What is there for Krishna to enter? Krishna's there in everyone's heart. But yes, his effect, his empowerment, his presence can be felt in the hearts of those living entities who are doing bhajan. Sripad Vallabhacharya ji, when he met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, Krishna Shakti vina nahi tar pravartan. Kali Yuga Dharma Aranam Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti vina nahi tar pravartan. In some places, Krishna is present in a dormant state. Because ye yatham mam prapadhyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. When the living entity doesn't remember Krishna and doesn't want Krishna, then Krishna is also there in a dormant state. He's taking a back seat, passive state. But when the living entity is constantly thinking of Krishna, constantly remembering Krishna, then Krishna is actively present and completely empowering that living entity. So you can see such living entities are very, very powerful. They can accomplish tasks which other mere mortals cannot. So that is a proof that Krishna is present in full potency there. A plant with dried up leaves is also alive, and a plant with fresh green leaves is also alive. But we can see the difference. The one with fresh green leaves is way more healthier than the one which is with dried leaves. So conditioned souls in general, life is there, but they are like dried leaf plant. And pure Vaishnavas or advanced Vaishnavas are like plants with green leaves. Krishna is present in full potency. The Pran Shakti of Krishna's presence is there. So Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi. Krishna will enter the living entity's heart and work in full potency just if we hear Krishna Katha. If we simply hear Krishna Katha and we are attentive, because in Krishna Katha, it's very easy to be distracted. In fact, it's a very big challenge to just be awake in Krishna Katha. When you have boring speakers like myself, it's very easy to just go off to sleep. And if we are awake, then it's very easy to look at the phone or look outside the window or maybe do something else, right? So it's a big challenge. It's a very big challenge. But only if we can attentively sit and hear Krishna Katha. And Sripad Ayendra Prabhu used to say, this is like the lazy, intelligent way of making advancement. Lazy because you don't have to climb up a mountain, you don't have to do parikrama, you don't have to bring anything, just have to sit. And it's an intelligent way because just by sitting and being attentive, we make advancement. So Shrunvatam Shraddhaya Nityam Grihnatancha Swacheshtitam Kalena Na Atidirghena Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi. Just by hearing about Krishna with faith, with loving attachment, every single day, and making an effort or an attempt to use those principles in real life, very quickly. Na atidirghena, not into the future, but very quickly. What happens? Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi. Krishna starts reciprocating. Now, this example could be given. Let's say our house is very dirty, and someone who's not our dear friend knocks at the door. And we open the door with embarrassment. We'll just tell them that actually I'm in the middle of moving, I'm in the middle of cleanup. And the person comes and they look at our main hall, and it's completely messy with shoes and clothes and books. And the person will say, no problem. Every home is like this. I totally understand. But he will not offer to help, right? And on the contrary, he will go out and tell other people, oh, that house is very dirty. And probably that's the last time they will come. But if, let's say, a best friend knocks at the door and we are in the middle of cleanup, the best friend will pull up their sleeves and say, hey, you didn't tell me, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll do everything for you. And then they, not just through the word, not lip service, but they will actually do it. They will help clean up the whole place. Why are we giving this example? We are giving this example because Krishna says that he's our best well-wishing friend, which means our body is like the house and we are living inside. And this ear is the front door, the main door of the house. So if Krishna Katha comes here, that is Krishna is here. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So Krishna as the best friend who arrives here, he will come and see that the bedroom is dirty. That's our heart is dirty. So what will Krishna do? Krishna will pull up his sleeves and he will say, hey, I'll help you clean up. I'll clean up your heart. This is what Krishna says. Cleaning up our consciousness is not our duty. Letting Krishna in through Krishna Katha, through the door of the ear, is our duty. And he, being our well-wishing friend, he cleans up. The point is, many times we get demoralized. We get sometimes even depressed that, oh, it's been 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I still face the same anarthas. It's because we are trying to clean it. And we'll never be able to clean up. We will never be able to wash the contamination in our heart. Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport, the anarthas in the heart are like bed bugs. Why? During the daytime, they don't seem to exist. So everything is fit and fine. So we think, well, I don't think I have so much lust or so much anger or so much envy. It's just like trying to find bed bugs during the daytime. You can't find them. But you switch off the lights and you can see the bed bugs come out and they exactly know here is a person and they know how to suck onto the blood. And as soon as you switch on the light, they have camouflaged themselves in the dark portion of the bed sheet or the comforter. So these are the anarthas. The anarthas are like this. When everything is fit and fine, you will see that, well, they don't exist. but it just takes the switching off of the light, which means any provoking situation, any agitating, irritating reversal in life, and you can see all the bed bugs of the anarthas come out. So it's very difficult to clean on our own. But if we let Krishna, who's our best well-wishing friend, enter through the ear hole. So Krishna's ready to enter. This is the door. This is the house. And we are in the middle of cleanup. We are in the middle of cleanup of our bedroom of the anarthas. And Krishna's waiting here. If we let him in through Krishna Katha means two points. Krishnasya Katha, which means the Katha of Krishna. About Krishna, Bhagavatam, and the Katha spoken by Krishna, Bhagavad Gita. Both of these are called Krishna Katha. So when we let this in, just by hearing, we don't have to do anything. In fact, even if we don't practice it, if we just attentively hear, there'll be substantial cleansing. And how much more? Kim punah shraddhaya grinhan. In Sanskrit, this is called as Kaimutik Nyaya. Kaimutik Nyaya means Kim Uta. If just by hearing we get so much, then how much more can be said if we practice also? Like that. So if we hear Krishna Katha and let our best well-wishing friend in the form of Krishna or Krishna Katha enter through the door of our ear into the bedroom of our heart, he will not simply say, oh, I understand you're moving, like other sound vibrations do. They come and contaminate our consciousness more than before. But Krishna actually takes on hands-on. He pulls up his sleeves and he cleans up the heart. Where is the praman that he does it? Pravishta karna randrena swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti shamalam Krishna salilasya yathasharat. The Bhagavatam describes just by letting Krishna in through the ear. Pravishta. Pravishta means pravesh. Just by entering. How? Karna randrena, through the hole of the ear. Just by entering through the ear hole. What does Krishna do in the form of Krishna Katha? Swanam bhava saroruham. He sits on the lotus of the bhava of the devotee. Every devotee has some bhava for Krishna. Some worship Krishna as friends. Some worship Krishna as their servant. In the sense, as Krishna's servant, they worship themselves as, they see themselves as the servant of Krishna and worship Krishna as their master. And some have relationship with Krishna, that Krishna is my child. I will feed him sweets. As soon as he wakes up in the morning, first thing I will give him is sweets. And some, they worship Krishna as a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. So this mode is also there. So Swanam Bhava Saroruham, depending on the lotus of the bhav that the living entity has, Krishna sits on that lotus. And what does he do? Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna. Krishna cleans up the heart. How does he clean? The example given is Salilasya Yathasharat. Just like when you take a cup full of dirty water, you run it down the tap of clean water. And in no time, you'll see all that mud and all that dirty water gets replaced. And the glasses or that cup is completely pure now with pure water. So similarly, our heart is like, it's a cup filled with muddy waters of anarthas and offenses and bad habits and addictions and lack of proper discipline and lifestyle, etc. But just by hearing Krishna Katha, that pure waters, that pure Ganga water of Krishna Katha enters the cup of our heart and replaces all the mud. And soon the living entity becomes completely self-effulgent. We are offering Mangal Arati every day. Mangal Arati can also be offered with different intentions. One intention of offering Mangal Arati is, well, it is a duty. I have been told I have to wake up in the morning. I find it difficult, but I still wake up because it's a principle Prabhupada instituted and I must do it. That's also good. That's duty bound. There's another level where one says, well, I'm a senior devotee. I've been in the movement for a long time. I must set proper example and standards. If I don't attend, what example am I setting? That's responsibility bound. One is duty bound. One is responsibility bound. And even higher than that, one is doing out of love. What is the love? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in the Gurvashtakam, Srimad Guru Rashtakam etad uchchaihi brahme muhurte pathati prayatnat yastena vrindavananatha sakshat sevai valabhya janushanta eva. Which means anybody who wakes up in Brahma Muhurta, Brahme Muhurte pathati prayatnat, with attention and with affection, if somebody reads the Guru Ashtakam, what do they get? Srimad Guru Ashtakam etad uchchaihi. If this Guru Ashtakam of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is loudly chanted in Brahma Muhurta, then what does one get? Yastena Vrinda Vananatha Sakshat Sevaiva Labhya Janushanta Eva. Janushanta Eva. Just at the end of one's life, one will attain Yastena Vrinda Vananatha Sakshat Sevaiva Labhya. One will get the service to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. This is the Phalashruti. Just by hearing and chanting the Guru Ashtakam every morning in Brahma Muhurta loudly, the fruit is one will get the service of Radha Krishna. So if somebody wants that, then they can serve Radha Krishna in Vrindavan in that mood. And therefore, to attain that, they are chanting the Guru Ashtakam. Similarly, one can hear Harikatha also with different intentions. One can hear Harikatha out of duty. Well, I'm supposed to, as a duty, I'm supposed to sit and hear every day. Or somebody can hear as responsibility. Well, I am answerable, in the community. If I don't attend, what kind of example am I setting? Somebody may hear Harikatha thinking, this will purify my heart. It is for my good. Or somebody may think, by hearing Krishna Katha, the Skanda Puran describes that all material desires will be fulfilled. So to fulfill my material desires, to remove all inauspiciousness, I want to hear Harikatha. Avismritir Krishna Padara Vindayo Kshinoti Abhadrani Cha Shamtanoti Sattvasya Shuddhim Paramatma Bhaktim Jnanam Cha Vijnana Viraga Yuktam. Bhagavatam describes by hearing Krishna Katha, there are 7 benefits. What are the 7 benefits? Avismritir Krishna Padara Vindayo Kshinoti Abhadrani Cha Shamtanoti. The first thing is Kshinoti Abhadrani. Everything inauspicious in our life will be destroyed. Astrological inauspiciousness, karmic inauspiciousness, inauspiciousness with respect to the Dasha, Mahadasha, time, place, circumstance, etc. will all be destroyed by simply hearing Krishna Katha. I remember one time I was doing one astrological consultation for one couple. And I looked at their chart. They wanted me to look at it and give some perspective. So I looked at the chart and I said, well, it's not compatible. You have been together for more than 25 years in marriage. How is it that this marriage worked? So they said, well, it was a love marriage. We were told that astrologically we are not compatible, but we wanted to marry. I said, then how did it work? They said, because 25 years ago, our Shiksha Guru, our senior Vaishnav, he said, you don't worry, you want to marry each other, you get married to each other and be happy, but make sure that you chant your 16 rounds together every day, and 1 hour of Srimad Bhagavatam you have to read together. You will be protected. And they said 25 years, every single day we have been doing that. And even if there's astrological incompatibility, Bhagavatam has helped. So from a material perspective also, you can see that inauspiciousness can be removed. Kshinoti Abhadrani. The second effect of hearing Krishna Katha is Sham Tanoti. All auspiciousness gets multiplied. Let's say in our life, we are supposed to get only 10% of fortune. Krishna will give, 10 times of that, because we are hearing Krishna Katha. And the nature of Krishna Katha is to expand the fortune and to reduce the misfortune. So the first effect of hearing Krishna Katha is inauspiciousness goes away. Second effect of hearing Krishna Katha is auspiciousness gets multiplied. Auspiciousness gets multiplied. There is a very interesting story in this regard. That one time there was a dung beetle. Dung beetle are those insects which feed on garbage, things which are rejected. So a dung beetle was once rolling in the trash can and enjoying whatever insignificance he had in his life. At that time, a bumblebee came. And the bumblebee came and started singing, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. This dung beetle heard this beautiful chanting of Krishna Leela through the lips of this bumblebee and asked the bumblebee, who are you and where are you coming from? The bumblebee said, oh, I am coming from the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. I am used to drinking honey or nectar, and I always look for the best lotus. The best lotus I found is the feet of Krishna. So I always hover around the lotus of Krishna's feet, and that's where I'm coming from. The dung beetle said, What is Krishna's lotus feet like? So the bumblebee said, what can I speak about Krishna's lotus feet? You don't even have experience of the lotus flower of this world. You're busy rolling in the trash can. You're busy eating the dung. So how can I explain to you the lotus of Krishna's feet? First, I have to take you to the lotus of this world. So the dung beetle said, oh, I am actually pretty much satisfied eating dung here in this trash can. I'm satisfied. The honeybee said, well, you don't even know how the lotus flower looks like. Come with me, I will take you. So listening to the words of this intelligent bumblebee, the dung beetle went with him. The dung beetle went and landed on the lotus of this world. And as he landed in the center, in the middle, he started drinking the honey. He started drinking the honey. He started drinking. And he became so mad. He became so mad drinking this honey that the whole day passed and it was sundown, the moon rose and the lotus closed. And still, even then, the honeybee was busy the dung beetle was busy drinking the honey of the lotus flower. The honeybee standing outside was telling the dung beetle, now come out, tear open and come out. You will die otherwise. The dung beetle said, no, this is intoxicating. Thank you. I'm really loving the taste of the honey. It so happened that this lotus flower, which had the dung beetle in the middle, was on a pool of water, and that belonged to a princess in her kingdom. So the princess was a devotee of Lord Shiva. So she would come every morning and pick lotus flowers and offer to the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. So it so happened that mysteriously that day she picked up the lotus flower, in the center of which there was that dung beetle drinking honey. And she went and offered that lotus flower at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. That dung beetle, which was now tasting honey in the middle of the lotus flower on the pool of very sweet water, was now at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva for 24 hours. Next morning, as the princess cleaned up all the nirmalya, the used flowers, she would throw all those flowers to the Ganga and then replace with new flowers. So this dung beetle, who believed the words of the bumblebee, left feeding on the trash of this world, started enjoying the nectar of the lotus flower, lived in the lotus flower for all night long, then for 24 hours was at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, and then now was swimming in the waters of the Ganga. At that time, the bumblebee asked the dung beetle, how has your stay been? The dung beetle said, my only good fortune came by associating with you and hearing Govinda Damodara Madhaveti from you. You are a sadhu and I am a conditioned soul, said the dung beetle. I am a conditioned soul who's busy eating the trash of this world. There's no pleasure in this world. But you, oh bumblebee, you're a sadhu and you're going from place to place singing Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. You're a sadhu who's walking from house to house speaking Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, the glories of Krishna. And the dung beetle said, I am a conditioned soul, busy eating the trash of this world. But by associating with you and hearing Krishna Katha from you, what has happened? Kshinoti abhadrani cha shamtanoti. My misfortune ended. My misfortune of feeding on the dung ended, and my fortune multiplied. I first tasted the honey. I was trapped in the cooling petals of the lotus flower. Then I was at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, and now I'm swimming in the waters of the Ganga. And all of this has come by hearing Krishna Katha from a sadhu. So this is to elaborate on how hearing Krishna Katha does Kshinoti abhadrani and shamtanoti. It reduces our misfortune and increases our fortune. The third effect of hearing Krishna Katha is sattvasya shuddhim. Our consciousness gets cleansed. Dhunoti sarvam ridhisanya vishtha. The 11th canto Bhagavatam describes those who hear about Krishna. Krishna becomes more interested in cleaning their heart. Yad kinkarishu bahusha khalu kakuvani nityam parasya purushasya shikhanda maule tasya kada rasanidhe vrishabhanu jaya tadkeli kunja bhavanangana marjanisyam. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad writes that those maidservants of Srimati Radharani who are busy cleaning the kunj of Braj, Those who are the maidservants of Srimati Radharani, who are busy cleaning the different groves and kunjas of Braj, they are so dear to Krishna that Krishna falls at their feet and begs for service. This is the inner meaning of Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasanudasa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I simply want to be the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the Lord of Srimati Radharani. So here in Braj, we can see that Krishna falls at the feet of the maidservants of Srimati Radharani. Smaragarala Khandanam Mama Shirasi Mandanam Dehi Padapallavam Udaram Sri Radhe Dehi Padapallavam Udaram. Srila Jayadev Goswami Pad has said, Krishna falls at the feet of Srimati Radharani and begs for personal service. May I clean your kunj? May I apply some nice painting or lac or alta at your lotus feet? May I sing some nice ragas for you? Or Radharani, may I make a nice garland of forest flowers for you? So that's the mood of Krishna. He wants to serve Radharani. Therefore, when he comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jadi Gauranga na hoito, tave ki hoito, ke mone dhare tamde, Radhar Mahima, Premarasa Sima, Jagata Janata ke, Jadi Gauranga na hoito, tave ki hoito, ke mone dhare tamde. Our Acharya, Vasudev Ghosh, and some say Narahari Sarkar, they say that if Mahaprabhu didn't, he hadn't come, then who would have spread the glories of Radharani? Who is Mahaprabhu? Krishna himself. And Krishna wants an opportunity to serve Radharani, an opportunity to serve not just Radharani, but also serve those who serve Radharani. Therefore, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has said, those who serve the kunjas of Radharani as the maidservants, Krishna falls at their feet and begs, please give me some personal service. Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudasa. And they give service. You, oh Krishna, you walk around the whole of Vrindavan and even outside, and you share the glories of Radharani. Tell everyone how glorious our Radharani is. And Krishna said, why only in Vrindavan? I will come down in material world, in Kali Yuga, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I will spread the glories of Radharani. Therefore, Radhara Mahima, Prema Rasa Sima, Jagata Janata Ke. If not for Krishna, who else can glorify Radharani like the way Mahaprabhu did? So in this way, we can see that those who hear about Radha and Krishna, Krishna becomes very indebted to them, and he's looking for service. So the service that he does to the conditioned soul, those who hear about Radha and Krishna, Krishna himself is waiting for an opportunity to serve. And the way he does it is by cleaning the kunja of our heart. When Radharani's maidservants are cleaning the kunja, the groves of Vrindavan, Krishna says, please give me the stick, the broomstick, and I want to clean. So it's Krishna's desire to clean the kunj. So when someone is surrendered to the lotus feet of Radharani in this world, Krishna enters the kunj of their heart and cleans. Dhunoti sarvam hridi sannivishta. All the anarthas are cleaned. So sattvasya shuddhim, the third effect that we can see by hearing Krishna Katha is that the consciousness gets cleansed. And the fourth is Paramatma Bhaktim. Bhakti rises in the heart. And this is a fact. Vikriditam vraja vadhubiridam cha Vishnu Shraddhanvitanushya athavarnayetyah Bhakti param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam Ridrogamashu apahinoti achirena dhira. Srila Shukdev Goswami Pad has said, just by hearing Krishna Katha, Vikriditam. Vikriditam means Vishesh Krida, the special pastimes of Krishna. Vraja vadhubiridam cha Vishnu. Who is Krishna? Oh, he's actually Vishnu. He's the Supreme Lord. And his pastimes with the damsels of Braja. By hearing such pastimes, Vikriditam Vraja Vadhubiridam cha Vishnu, by hearing Krishna Katha, Krishna's pastimes in Vraj, very specifically, what happens? Shraddhanvitanu shrunuyat atha varnayetyah. Anu shrunuyat. If we repeatedly hear Krishna Katha, the word anu has many meanings. One meaning of the word anu means repeatedly. One meaning of the word anu means anukulya bhavena, in a very favorable devotional mood to hear. Another meaning of the word anu means anugatya bhavena, to hear in submission to our spiritual master, not independently. So anu shrunuyat, if Krishna Katha, Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, gopas, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, etc., is repeatedly heard in a favorable mood, under superior guidance, and varnayet, and also described, then what happens? Bhakti param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam. The highest conceptions of devotion rises in the heart of the living entity. And when bhakti rises in the heart, rit rogam ashu apahinoti achirena dhira. Then all the contamination is lost. Sometimes we think, oh, I am not qualified to hear about Krishna. I am not that advanced. So let me purify my heart and then let me hear about Krishna in Vrindavan. But actually this verse, Srila Shukdev Goswami Pad uses this as the last verse to the Ras Panchadhyaya in the 10th canto. Srila Shukdev Goswami says, no, first Krishna Bhakti will rise. And when the sun of Krishna Bhakti rises, then the darkness of the anarthas will go away. If we wait for the anarthas to go, then it will take, maybe 700 lifetimes. Who knows? Am I going to die in the human form without hearing about Krishna? Just waiting when the anarthas will go away. And how will the anarthas go anyway? It will go when they are darkness. Krishna surja samo maya hai andhakar. Jaha Krishna tahanai mayar adhikar. Only when the sun of Krishna Bhakti rises will the darkness of these anarthas get completely dispelled, completely removed. Otherwise, it's not possible. This bhakti must rise first. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agham dhunvanti karsneya niharamiva bhaskara. The 6th canto, 1st chapter, text 15 describes that when the sun rises, the darkness is all taken away. So similarly, by hearing Krishna Katha, the sun of Krishna Bhakti rises. And by the rays of that mercy, the darkness is all taken away. So Bhagavatam describes Bhaktim para Bhagavati pratilabhya kamam rid rogam ashu apahinoti achirena dhiraha. That a dhira, a very sober and self-controlled person, he hears Krishna Katha, he doesn't act on his anarthas, he tolerates provoking situations and continues to hear Krishna Katha. The effect that happens is bhakti rises. So the first effect we said, by hearing Krishna Katha, is misfortune is taken away. The second advantage we mentioned is fortune gets multiplied. The third advantage we said is sattvasya shuddhim, the consciousness gets cleansed. Consciousness gets cleansed. And the fourth we mentioned is bhakti rises. Pure devotional sentiments, the proper nishtita bhajan kriya, not viewed vikalpa, tarangarangini. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadambini has described that there is nishtita bhajan kriya and anishtita bhajan kriya, which means sometimes we feel like chanting and sometimes we don't feel like chanting. That will not happen. If we systematically hear Krishna Katha with this mood, hearing, taking notes, trying to memorize, trying to ponder upon it, repeating those notes, sharing it with others, and also sitting in seclusion and thinking what plan of action or call for action, what lifestyle change I'm going to make to implement this Hari Katha in my life. If we hear like this, then pravishta karana randrena swanam bhava saroruham dhunoti shamalam Krishna salilasya yathasharat. Krishna, with the broomstick of his mercy, he cleanses the heart, and bhakti rises. This is the fourth effect of hearing Krishna Katha. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has said, Nitai Chaitanya nahi ei sab vichar, namale prem de bahe ashrudhar. The greatness of mercy of Chaitanya and Nityananda Mahaprabhu is such that just by chanting their holy names and hearing their katha, they enter. When they enter, the first thing that happens is tears streams from the eyes. And we feel, oh Krishna, when will bhakti rise in my heart? Which means their mercy has already begun. So first, the tears will come. And when the tears come with that water, the consciousness, the heart gets completely cleansed. Kaviraj Goswami writes this. Therefore, Srila Narottam Das Thakur has also sung, Gaurangera madhur lila jar karne praveshila. Shri Gauranger madhur lila jar karne praveshila. Hridaya nirmala Velotar, Hridaya nirmala velotar. Gaurangera madhur lila jar karne praveshila hridaya nirmal velotar. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung that just by hearing the pastimes of Sri Krishna, Sriman Mahaprabhu, Gaurangera madhur lila jar karne praveshila, if it enters through the ear, Hridaya nirmal velotar, our heart becomes completely cleansed by hearing about Mahaprabhu. So this is the fourth effect. Sattvasya shuddhim paramatma bhaktim. Then the fifth, sixth, and seventh effects are jnanam, vijnana, viraga yuktam. Three things will rise along with that. The first thing is knowledge about Krishna rises. One becomes very knowledgeable about Krishna. We must note one thing, that sometimes on the pursuit of knowing more about Krishna, there is more information in the head and hardly any transformation of the heart. That is not the effect that we are talking about. That is where we are collecting gyan or knowledge without devotion in the heart. That is not very effective. By holding a lot of information and connections and a lot of points in the head, what is the value? What is the weight of this brain substance after all? We have to leave everything behind and at the time of death, move from one body to another. If information doesn't bring transformation, it simply is a waste of time. Na utpadayet yadi ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. If rati for Krishna is not rising, then whatever we are writing and reading and hearing, it will just increase our false ego, make us think that we are better than others, make us think that we know more than others. What is the effect? How do we know? How do we know? What are some symptoms that we know that whether knowledge is being collected in line with devotion or anti-devotion? The desire to serve the Vaishnavas will increase. The desire to hear from the Vaishnavas will increase. The person is not just interested, I will sit and speak and all of you hear. That will not be the effect in his heart. He will be very interested in hearing as well. We can see so many examples of this also. Great Vaishnavas, bodhayanta parasparam, kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti. One person is speaking, the other is hearing, the other is speaking, the other is hearing. Parasparanu kathanam pavanam bhagavat yashaha mithorati mithotushti mitho nivrittiratmanaha. Bhagavatam describes that mutually speaking. Sripad Madhavananda Prabhu very beautifully puts that we are a community of listeners and speakers. Everybody should get an opportunity to share Krishna Katha. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be there. It's not necessary. It has to be filled with a lot of shlokas, a lot of jokes, a lot of stories. Yatha mati yatha shrutam. Whatever we have heard, how much ever we can, according to our capacity, whatever is possible. Narasinghadev, when he appeared, Prahlad Maharaj is praying and he says, my Lord, great demigods cannot glorify you sufficiently. They are doing stuti pravaha, which means they're in rivers of glorification for you. Still, they can completely glorify you. What can I, a 5-year-old child who has no knowledge and who's born in a demoniac clan, what glorification can I do? Same with Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj is saying, my Lord, I don't even know Vyakaran. What words can I use? And as soon as the Lord touches, we can see, Yonta pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjiva yatte khila shakti dharaswadhamna anyamscha hasta charana shravanatvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. As soon as the Lord touches Prahlad Maharaj and touches Dhruva Maharaj, they start speaking. So our community should be such that whatever we have read, whatever we have heard, yatha manisham, how much ever we can hold, whatever we have grasped, we should try to share. And we should be encouraged to share that. Because by doing that, we get purified. And we should also be interested in hearing and not that, oh, well, what is this person going to tell me that I don't know myself? That feeling is not good. Because we can see that when Shukdev Goswami was speaking Krishna's baby pastimes, Parikshit Maharaj was sitting and hearing. Now, Parikshit Maharaj, when he's listening to the pastime of Putana spoken by Shukadev Goswami, he's trembling in fear, in anxiety, thinking, what is going to happen next? Well, if you actually think about it, Parikshit Maharaj there's no need for him to be scared because he knows that Krishna did conquer all the demons and then he grew up and he was the chariot driver for Arjuna, who is the grandfather for Parikshit. So Parikshit Maharaj knows that Krishna was the chariot driver. He was the driver of the chariot for Arjuna in his own family. So Parikshit Maharaj doesn't have to be concerned when Putana is coming. He doesn't have to be. But still it is described when he was listening to the pastime of Putana, Parikshit Maharaj was trembling that Krishna is a baby and Putana is Kamsena Prahita Ghora Putana Balaghatini Shishum Chachara Nignanti Puragrama Vrajadishu. That Putana is actually a serial baby killer and Krishna is a baby. I don't know what is going to happen. Out of this anxiety, Parikshit Maharaj is trembling. What does it tell us? It tells us that Parikshit Maharaj has put his knowledge and his experience of reality behind and is listening firsthand from the speaker, Shukadev Goswami. And then Shukdev Goswami to comfort Parikshit Maharaj, he says, Na yatra shravanadini raksho gnani swakarmasu kurvanti satvatam bhartur yatu dhanyascha tatrahi. That, oh Maharaj Parikshit, you don't have to worry. Wherever there is loud chanting and hearing of the glories of Krishna, there itself, Brahma Rakshasa Yakshanam Durotsarana Karanam, the ghosts and the witches, they go far away. Then how much more can be said about the place where Krishna is present in person? So you don't have to worry. So in this way, we can see that the culture of hearing from others should be there. When someone is developing knowledge about Krishna, which is devotional, his service to the Vaishnava community will increase. His receptibility will increase. He will sit and hear when other Vaishnavas are speaking also. He will not jump to correct others, even if someone has forgotten a verse, even if someone is struggling with something. He will not think that I am helping and this person doesn't know, or I am correcting. This mood will not be there. They will always think that whether I am speaking about Krishna, whether he's speaking about Krishna, it's ultimately Krishna who's speaking. The man can either use his index finger or his middle finger or his ring finger or his thumb or his pinky, but it's ultimately the man using these fingers. So the devotee who has developed knowledge in line of bhakti will think we are all like different fingers. Krishna is the puppeteer and we are all like puppets. Jare jaiche nachayate taiche kare nritya ekale Ishvara Krishna arasava bhritya. We are all like fingers and Krishna can make us dance. One person is speaking katha, the other person is speaking katha. I am speaking katha. Ultimately, it's Krishna who's speaking. And the interest in hearing, not just speaking, but sitting and hearing and serving the senior Vaishnavas and hearing from them and learning from them. This is knowledge in a line of devotion. It is described, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayityasu Vairagyam Jnanam Yacha Haitukam. That bhakti is actually a mother who has two children. The first is knowledge of Krishna. The second is renunciation from this world. So the fifth effect of hearing Krishna Katha is true knowledge rises. And what kind of knowledge? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakeja Pandita Samadarshina. Vidya Vinayena Shobhate. That knowledge which is imbued with humility, not with pride. Not with pride, not about how much information we can collect and how much we know and how everyone is asking me and they're all depending on me. Not like that. That is pride. But one is genuinely interested only to hear about Krishna. As soon as other topics are spoken, he will change the topic. He or she will change the topic. So this is the fifth effect, to gain proper knowledge about Krishna. And the sixth effect is renunciation from this world. Just by hearing Krishna Katha, there will be renunciation. So many examples of acharyas who heard about Krishna and they left home. They became brahmacharis, they became sannyasis, they became sadgrihasthas just by hearing about Krishna. How many brahmacharis and sannyasis this world has seen? And how many sadgrihasthas this world has seen? So many from time immemorial. What caused that renunciation in their heart? Krishna. Hearing about Krishna, one gets attached to Krishna, one gets knowledge about Krishna and renunciation from this world. You see, when a fruit becomes ripe, automatically by the weight of its being ripened, it falls off the branch. There is a branch and there is a fruit. When the fruit is completely ripened, the weight increases and it gets detached from that branch because it's ripe. So similarly, when the heart of the living entity gets ripened by the juice of Krishna Bhakti, and that weight will naturally detach him, make him renounced from the branches of this world. That is the sixth effect. And the seventh effect of hearing Krishna Katha is Vairagyam, Vijnanam, which means complete realization. One will realize the philosophical truths. One will realize that we are actually Krishna's eternal servant. Krishna Das ei Vishwas korle to ar dukha nai. One will have complete conviction, One will have complete surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. One will realize Krishna. In fact, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he gives 14 steps to see God. From Mahat Sangha, Mahat Seva, etc. up to Harer Madhurya Anubhavam, which means experiencing the sweetness of Krishna. 14 steps. So all of this happens by Adav Guru Padashraya, Vishrambhena Guru Seva. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoy Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Prema Janmete Ho Punar Mukhya Anga. That association with the great Vaishnavas and hearing Krishna Katha from them is the greatest matter of fortune that can touch the heart of a living entity. To associate with senior Vaishnavas and to just hear from them is the greatest fortune. Everything will come with that. Absolutely everything. Anarthas will go away. Inspiration to perform bhakti will come. The world will seem to be insignificant. Our tendency to gossip will go away. Our tendency to see faults will go away. Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekhaye dosh, kaya mana vakya kare Vaishnava santosh, kahare na kare ninda Krishna Krishna bole, ajaya chaitanya shai jiniveka hole. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat have all described by hearing about Krishna. One will have complete realization. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchanai sarvai gunais tatra samasate sura harav abhaktasya kuto mahad guna manorathena sati dhavato vahi. All good qualities will come and all that is troublesome to the heart will be taken away. So therefore, this is the most important limb, to hear and chant about Krishna. However, with COVID and with other effects that we can see, there are positive effects also in the sense that we can connect with anyone and hear Krishna Katha from any part of the world. That is the positive side of it. But the negative side of it is Maya Devi somehow breaks our attention span. Pre-COVID, we were sitting together in one hall. And at that time, you can't take phone calls. You can't parallelly do anything else. You can't talk. You can't multitask. You can't sleep. You can't lay down. But with COVID, what has happened is since we've all gone virtual, now we can have audio, video, and we can sometimes drive and hear, we can cook and hear, we can even lay down and hear. And sometimes we can hear on YouTube. And when we don't feel like, we can even switch off, we can even log off. But in a live class, that's not possible. So the only limb of bhakti that we can give our heart to and make advancement, Maya Devi has, hit her sword and taken our attention span away. Now we get so distracted. We minimize the Zoom and we parallelly see if there are text messages on WhatsApp. We see if there are emails that have come. And again, a man refreshes to see if there are newer emails coming in, although there's nobody sending the email. So these things are there. So it's our duty to fight distraction. It is our duty to fight all these multitasking tendencies on the path of spiritual life. Yes, it is okay to cook and hear about Krishna. It is okay to drive and hear about Krishna. But apart from that, we should take separate time out every day. It could be 15, 20, 30, 40, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or 1 hour, 60 minutes. But we have to do justice to that. One pointed. We have our notebook, we have our pen, we are hearing. Sometimes we pause, we write down. Let's say a verse is quoted. We search for the verse. We try to read, memorize that verse, understand the context of that verse. In this way, one Hari Katha is like a full meal. We have to sit, do justice. We have to taste all the preparations, the stories involved in that Katha, the examples involved in that Katha, the verses, the connections, the important take-home points. And individually we relish and we take time to digest that. So in this way, hearing Krishna Katha is the bhajan for the ear. Just like there is bhajan for the tongue to chant the holy name, there's bhajan for the eye to glance at the deities, there's bhajan for the ear to hear about Krishna. Ma shravyam King Kulashekara has described. Ma smarsham, ma shravyam, ma draksham, ma bhuvam. What does it mean? Ma smarsham. Don't remember anyone apart from Krishna. Coming from the root smrusmara, to remember. And ma shravyam. Don't hear anything that is not connected to Krishna. Don't remember anything that is not connected to Krishna. Ma draksham. Don't see anything that is not connected to Krishna. And ma bhuvam. Don't become anything apart from the servant of Krishna. Madraksham kshina punyan kshanamapi bhavato bhaktihinan padabje ma shrausham shravya bandham tava charitam apasya macha tava charitam apas anyadakhyana jatam ma smarsham madhavatvam api bhuvanapate chetasa pahnuvanan ma bhuvam tvatsaparya vyatikara rahito janma janmantarepi. He says that I don't want to see anyone except you, my Lord. And Shrausham, I don't want to hear, and I don't want to remember, and I don't want to become anything apart from your service, apart from your being your servant, or hearing your glories, or remembering your glories, or seeing your form. So in this way, this one-pointed spirit of hearing and chanting about Krishna, especially taking shelter of Shravanam, which has been so profusely glorified in the Bhagavatam, we will make advancement by leaps and bounds. So as much as possible, we should try to do bhajan for the ear. Tomorrow, as we get old, we may not be able to hear properly. We will get deaf. We may need hearing aid. Or at that time, we may not have qualified speakers in accessibility. Now, when we are young, now when we have Krishna Katha, even available online, and our hearing faculties are good, we should take advantage to make advancement and not hear things which are not related to Krishna. Our body is a machine. Let's measure and choose what goes in, because what goes in decides what comes out. Gaurav Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna. So we can all stand for Arati. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishata Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Bhakti Vedanta O Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चादिशतारिणे नमस्ते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चादिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद ओ आनंद लीलामय विग्रहाय हेमावदिव्या च विसुन्दराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते Everyone, please repeat after me. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. O Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaur Chandra Parama Karuna Nitai Gaur Chandra Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hari Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopalavindaram Srimadhusudan Gopalavindaram Srimadhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madanavan Bolo Giridhari Gopinath Madanavan Bolo Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Chaitanya Nityananda रूपा श्री सनातन बता रघुनाथ श्री रूपा श्री सनातन बता रघुनाथ श्री जीवा गोपाल बता दस रघुनाथ श्री जीवा गोपाल भता दस रघुनाथ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Rama Rama Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol Shri Paramakarunitai Gaur Chandra Ki
Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivajakacha Shtadhar Sada Shishimad His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Bibiti Fongnaracharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivajakacha Shtadhar Sada Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srimati Tulsi Dev Maharani Ki Jai Shri Yogadharma Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Books Distribution Ki Jai Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai Shri Shri Paramakarnitai Gaur Chandra Ki Jai Samveda Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande All glories to the assembly of devotees, all glories to the assembly of devotees, all glories to the assembly of devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Bacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachari Shatarini.
Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasringaya Prahalada Lada Lada Ine Hiranyakashipur Vaksha Silatankanakalaini Ito narsingo parato narsingo Yatu yatu yamitatu narsingo Bahir Narsingo, Hiraye Narsingo Narasingamadim Sharana Prapade Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Habhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Ishavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hari Jai Jagadisha Hari Jai Jagadisha Hari Varena Habhuta Shingam Tanu Bringam Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jai Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Narsimhadev 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 Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Shri Shri Narsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Prahlad Maharaj Ki
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Paramakarnitai Gaur Chandra Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna to all the devotees. So I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the temple here to thank all of you for being here for today's Sunday morning love feast. So just before you go for lunch prasad, we want to we want to thank all the devotees who would have assisted to coordinate the different areas for this morning's program. So let's put our hands together for all the cooks, pujaris, for the kirtan walas, and so forth. So also on Saturday 19, which is this coming Saturday, it's Ekadashi. So for those of you who are fasting for Ekadashi, and break-in time is on Sunday morning from 7:05 to 9:40. So that's Ekadashi. And of course, from last week, for those of you who are here, the next major festival will be Gita Jayanti observance. It will be 3rd of December, about 2-3 weeks from now. So more and more we want to, if you can encourage your friends, your colleagues, to come for the Sunday Love Feast. As you can see, it is still a drag, from post-COVID, since the COVID kind of eased up, for, to get the congregation back together. But with each and every one of your help, we can definitely help to encourage one another so that, we can use the Sunday Feast program not just as, try to escape or, exclude ourselves, or, we can use it as a Sangha or a program where we come to associate to recharge our spiritual batteries. Many people here today likes to ride the rechargeable motorcycle or scooter, whatever you want to call it. It's very popular these days. You don't need license to drive it also. All right, so that you have to recharge. If you go If you drive for too long hours, you'll get discharged. So similarly, being out in a material world, being out in our own little corner, it can be our workplace, our schools, our homes, wherever it may be. But on Sundays when we come together here, it's a nice opportunity for us to, together engage in kirtan, together hear Krishna Katha, together take prasad, together do some service. So like that. So with these few words, we want to thank you all and please enjoy prasadam. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.